Welcome back to the third episode of coding for this full stack tutorial. I had to do a little wrestling on that last bit, but landed on some sort of type safety here as well. Just updated a few things down here in our table as well. Just added some type stuff over here, and then had to change the language here. So, and again, guys, if any part there's any confusion, I've got all the code for you in the GitHub repository. I'll show you how to access that. So if you go to my GitHub, should be a whole bunch of repositories, and let's see, it's going to be right here. It'll be the very first link in the description. So it should take you to this page, and then if you come here, you could find all the branches of code right here for each episode. So I hope that's helpful. Let's continue our progress. So we just have one report now. We deleted the other one just to get the type safety. If we pull up our Lucid chart, it's kind of what we built for right here. Let me delete this and let's zoom back in. We built these guys right here, these two, and let's kind of build that API layer now where we can access this data. And let's get some data in the database. The data in the database, we might have to wait for the next episode to do that, but let's build the API layer first. So what I want to do is come to my Explorer tab, and I want to, guys, I'll bring the application back. I want to, let me resize this. That's what I really want to do first. I want to resize this, and then let's right click over here, new folder, and I'll name this folder pages. And then in the pages folder, I'll say API, with a folder named API, and then in the API folder, I want to name my first endpoint. So I'll say fitness reports or fitness-reports. And it's going to look something like this. And I actually going to steal a bit of code to start templating off of from an old project real quick. Let me grab that. This is going to be our API endpoint. So the front end, when we say, fetch, if we have some function that's going to basically get our fitness reports. So let's say function get fitness reports or fetch, oops, not from Lodash, don't want that. So function fetch fitness reports, boom. You know how we're going to have some fetch command where we have this. This is going to be our actual path. Whatever we name this, so API/this, that is going to be our actual path. So one moment, let me grab a library, not a library, but an endpoint that we could template off of. So let me just find a good one. Here is one for inviting a user, but we're not going to do that. We're going to rename a whole bunch of stuff. So let me just delete this all really quick. That one's not going to be what I want. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I should have prepared a little bit better for this. Steal a report ID. This will work great. This will be perfect. Okay, so and again, guys, this code is going to be available for you in the description, but let's just remove all the code. And I just want to talk us through everything that's going on. So we have our handler where we're building in our, let's actually just kind of one thing at a time. So first we want to import our next API and next API response and request just for type safety. The second thing we want to do is instantiate our Prisma client. And this is how we connect to Prisma from the API. This is how we make this connection happen from these two. Is we're going to pull in Prisma, specifically Prisma client. We say const Prisma equals new Prisma client, just to kind of solidify this relationship. And we first are going to define our handler. And this handler, what it's going to do from the front end, we can make, we can make calls from our front end. So maybe our function is going to say get reports, right? Or fetch reports, whatever function we have. But basically, this is going to be a .get request. So however we end up displaying, it'll be a .get request, and then we'll have our endpoint name. So API/ report. So however it ends up being, we basically have this .get, and this .get gets fired off to our API, and this is how our API knows, oh, it's a GET request. So we describe it as a GET request here. And then now it's going to have a certain bit of code that we're going to tell to the database of, hey, this is what you need to go do because we sent you a GET request. But if we built another function, let's just pull this, copy this, and let's say this function is like update report. And this wasn't a .get request. It ended up being a .put to update. This same .put will go to our API that we fired off to, this fitness report API, and we need to build that function. So we'll say case.put, and then we would have an update report function, update report right here. And we would need to build that function out, and that function would have some bit of code that would tell us what to do with the database. So this is how we're going to kind of build our CRUD operations, and it would be the same thing for .delete, But I just wanted to show bird's eye view on the right and then code on the left, practice, putting concept to practice. So if we had a .delete request, it would come here. We would need a delete, and then we would have some in a code that would show us what to do. So let's kind of undo this real quick. I just wanted to show the bird's eye what's going on. Let's delete all this stuff, and we're just going to do the GET request for now. Let's just start there. But this is what our handler is doing. It's saying, okay, I need to direct this request to which function, and it depends on the request it's receiving. So let's build this .get report, or really it's going to be get reports because we're going to have a whole bunch of reports function. So what it is, it's an async function with a request and a response, and they're type safe requests and responses. And this is what I want to do is say const Prisma or const reports equals await Prisma. Of course, our IntelliSense is helping out a bunch, but basically we're going to call on Prisma from our client up here. And Prisma has a bunch of commands on it. So we can access our fitness report basically in our model or our schema. Let me pull up our schema. This is what we're accessing. When I say a dot, it is saying, oh, access one of these things. Do I want to access the training plan? If I want to query the training plans, I would say dot training plan. But if I want to query the fitness report, which is what we want to query, I'd say dot fitness report. So if I built a new model that said model whatever and added ID with it, and if we generated a new contract, we would have access to that bit of stuff. So let's let it regenerate the contract for a bit, and you'll see .prisma. It should pull up whatever here in a moment. So I just wanted to kind of establish the connection of how these things look. So maybe it'll pull up, maybe it won't. Say whatever, boom, there it is, and it pops up. So whatever our model is that's over here, we can now access it over here because we're instantiating it, etc., etc. But let's get rid of whatever. That was just to show you guys that connection, how that relationship works. And let's bring back our fitness report. And while that updates, I'll just close out of this schema and pull open the application again. But basically we're saying const reports await Prisma .fitness report, and we'll say find many, and boom. And this is literally all we need to do is just res JSON, send it to our front end as our response. And we can get a little fancy with it. We can do some try catches, some error handling if the API doesn't request things, but this is all we need to do to get our data from the backend, assuming the request goes through proper. So let's do that right now instead of doing all the try catches. And this will work. We will have a response, but the thing is our response will be empty because we don't have any data in the backend in our actual database. So I'm going to install Axios. I'll come to my command line. I'll say npm Axios at type Axios, or npm I Axios at types Axios, and that's going to install Axios for us. And then at the top of the file, I can go ahead and import Axios right here from Axios. And this is where we could actually start to build our component a bit. So I can say Axios. You can see it's already doing everything for us. But Axios.get, we'll do is /API fitness reports. And I'm not going to do all this .then stuff. Let's just do const response equals Axios. We'll await it. So I'll need to do async await. And this I can console log, and we'll see at least an empty response, or at least should. So let's do that real quick. Let me run the dev real quick again, this server. So here we go, npm run dev, and I will pull up our console. Sorry guys, lost English there for a bit. And we should see fitness reports pop up. So again, it'll be an empty response, but we should at least see something. We might need to do a use effect, but I do want to see that this endpoint gets fired off. So let's at least put some console logs as well here. So I'll say here, I am getting reports, right? And then we could say, so log reports successfully returned or something. And if we see all this stuff in our console, it means that things have gone through proper. It looks like we did not see all this stuff go through proper. And that could actually be because we don't have any data. It very well could be that. So let's see, fitness report, handle response. But the good news is we are seeing something. So let me wrap this. Let's go back to our base table real quick, and I will pull in a use effect. And with Next.js, we do have to declare client components by saying use client at the top of the file. let's take our use effect. So now we can use our use effect, and let's do this. Put a dependency array in our use effect and just put our fetch fitness reports function there. So now it should fire off. Let's see. We do have some bad errors right here. So this is good. This lets us know that we might have an error, an issue. Request failed with a 404. So this is awesome. This is the type of stuff we want to break. We want to see what's going on, why it's breaking. So it doesn't even look like that it's firing off. Fitness report gets requests. So let's just try to see what's going on. And what I'm going to do from the base table, we have our report data here. Let's take this data and let's actually stash it now on the back end and see what we can do. So I know it threw some errors in the front end. Don't worry about it. We'll come back to that in a moment. And what I'm actually going to do is just push this data right here in the back end. You can see we don't have these types, so I will import them from Prisma client at the top of the file. Just import fitness report with Prisma client. And let's actually just send the reports. These fit, it's hard-coded data still. So let's cancel out Prisma and let's send fitness reports to the front end, and let's see if we can get this thing working, right? So this is kind of soothing that relationship between the front end client and the back end. We're just trying to iron it out here. And this is the biggest thing. If you could iron out just the baby step, you could probably build the rest of everything you need to build. So the last thing we need to do on the front end, we're back on the front end, is I want to say const fitness reports, set fitness reports right here. And you can see we pull in use state from React. And the beautiful thing about using the same contract is you can see the type safety already came through here, that we can actually use our type safety immediately from Prisma client if we wanted to. But this is just the React hook I'm going to use. Let me put the type safety back to make sure we're matching payload from the front end to back end. Again, so our back end data should model the fitness report and our front end data should model the fitness report. Now we know that the full stack feature is kind of coming together. So let's see what else is going on. So next API fitness reports. Why are we getting a 404? That is so interesting. It could be because we're not doing a local host fetch right here. I will basically what we want to do is set our fitness reports to response.data. And that'll show us the reports if we're receiving them from the backend. So right now it's broken. Let's keep massaging it and figuring it out together. So the goal is just to see that JSON data now from the backend. So we saw it work on the front end on the client. We've now moved that JSON data to the backend. And all we want to do is just make sure that API request is coming together. And that's it. So let's figure out why. I just want to make sure that I'm spelling it. Oh, fitness reports, we spelled it wrong. So right here on the API, it says fitness reports. So I either need to change this to reports or change it to fetch fitness reports or report, one of the two. So I just changed the naming here. Let's see if that fixes it. And there it is. So that's awesome, guys. We can see I am getting reports. It's popping up in my console Ninja, which is awesome. So we know it's working. At least the API endpoint is working. If we uncomment out this Prisma command, it should not work. Obviously, we don't have any data in the database. So the next episode is going to be about building the form for us to put data into the database. But let me cancel out these console logs and let's see if we can at least query the fitness reports from Prisma. And let's see, should query an empty response at the very least or something. Status code with 500 because there's no data there. So it looks like it's working. 500 meaning internal server error. And let's just put it back to fitness reports for now and refresh. I want to show you guys real quick to clean up the front end. So this is all our front end should look like for right now is we just have our imports at the top of the file. We have our, let's clean this up a bit. Actually get rid of this import React deal. And that should clean us up a smidge. So you can see on the front end client, we are receiving the fitness report and we're pointing at the Prisma client. So both the backend is pointing at the Prisma contract and the front is pointing at the Prisma contract, which is just beautiful, perfect. And we have a fetch function that's just getting a response from our endpoint and it seems to be working. And our use effect is working as well. So our list is coming together perfect. The next thing we just want to work on, as I said, next episode, is just getting an import input field. And it might take a little bit of work on that one because we have to do a little bit of validation and then make sure the training reports thing is put together. This part of the schema is going to be a little bit tricky So I'm not sure how to tackle that one quite yet, but we do want to have import stuff for these 4 fields where we can put in a name, a date, a trainer, and a client. So I will see you on the next one.